Let me start out by saying I think I owe Kia an apology. You see, last year I drove the final model year of the Kia Forte, and I actually really enjoyed that car. In fact, I called it the best car you can buy for $20,000. Well, it's 2025 and the Forte is no more. It was replaced by this, the Kia K4. And this is not the best car you can buy for $20,000 because frankly, you can't buy one for $20,000. Like everything else in this world, they did raise the price up. Starts about $22,000. This is the next level up, the LXS, at around $23,000. So 10 to 15% price increase, but you get a lot of stuff for that. In fact, almost everything I complained about in the Forte, like I said, I really did like the car, but there were a few things they have addressed in the new K4. And I even saw the K4 in pictures before it came out and was like, that's an ugly car. Well, let me tell you, in person, this car looks much, much better. I really like the risk that Kia is taking on their designs, and I think they have a winner on their hands here, possibly even better than a Corolla or Civic. So let's have a look at the all-new Kia K4. But before we do that, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow and provide you with even more automotive content. You can find everything from car reviews to quick fixes and everything in between on all things cars. It's at Petroelectric. All right, let's get to it. Now, the first thing you're going to notice if you've driven a Kia Forte is how much bigger the K4 is. It feels massive, like a true, legit mid-size car. So I had to look it up. It's actually just 3 inches longer than the outgoing Forte. The wheelbase is about 1 inch longer, and it's 2 inches wider. I mean, especially when you're inside, it really feels like a wide car, like almost like a Toyota Camry. But one thing that's notable is it's shorter. It's like an inch shorter. It feels like you're really low to the ground, especially for someone tall like me. The only thing I really don't like about this is the climbing in and out of the car. It is a little bit more difficult, especially as I'm getting up there at age these days. One thing that they did address that I didn't like in the Forte was that they were still using halogen lights all around. Well, this has front and rear LEDs. It's just a safety thing, and they look a lot better, especially if you're driving in dark areas. HID and LED headlamps are far superior to halogens, so I'm glad they upgraded that. And overall, it's just kind of a bold design choice, like all the new Kias. And I like that Kia is taking risks. And I think Kia designers had a little bit of inspiration in a car that was a lot more expensive than this. I'm thinking the Lucid Air. If you look at the rear deck lid and the way that the roof is sloped in the back seat to give you a lot more space, it's very reminiscent of the Lucid Air. Even this front grille here. In fact, I had someone stop me and ask if this car was all electric, just I think because of the sleek, futuristic look. I didn't like it in photos, but now that it's here on the roads, I actually think it's a good design. And as I mentioned at the top, this one is just slightly above the base model. This is the LXS package, and basically it's $1,000 more. And the biggest thing you get is actual alloy wheels. These are 16s, and if you just go for the base model, you are stuck with wheel covers, aka hubcaps, and I really don't like that. And these wheels are definitely sufficient and well worth the extra $1,000. Under the hood, something familiar to you Hyundai and Kia owners. It's a direct carryover actually from the old Forte. The 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine, good for 147 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque. Gets you 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds. That's pretty respectable for this class. And fuel efficient too. 40 on the highway, 30 in the city, a combined 34. It's actually just 1 mile per gallon less than the old Forte. And considering how much larger this is, that's pretty impressive. One thing that was lacking on the Forte was a trunk button to open the trunk on the actual car. It did not exist. You had to use either the key fob or go inside and pop the trunk from there. But they've added one now. It's right here. So all you gotta do is push it as long as you're close to the key fob. And it actually pops up for the most part. So double win there by Kia. Once you're in the trunk, it's huge, just like the outgoing Forte. It's actually a tiny bit smaller, but you wouldn't even know it. This trunk is enormous for a tiny car, and you can even pop the back seats down from inside the trunk. And like I said, it's huge. In fact, I think it's even easier to get inside the trunk than it is inside the driver door. To the back seat, and this is where that funky roof design comes into play, because while the entry point is a little bit low, once you're inside, there's tons of space, especially headroom. I don't feel claustrophobic at all in here. I'm 6'3", and I got like probably 2 inches of headroom still, and like 2 to 3 inches of knee room. And this seat is set where I would sit it. So it's a lot further back than the average person would have it too. So that's really nice, because if your knees do hit, you're hitting very hard plastic here, and that would not be comfortable. Speaking of hard plastic, the door materials are very hard. You get a little padded area for your arm here, but that's about it. No frills back here. I wouldn't expect there to be, but it is nice. You do get 2 USB-C chargers here, one for each passenger. And there is a lack of a center console armrest. I think the higher trim models will give you that. And no cup holders. There's this weird little bottle holder that's angled on the side. So if you have a sealed bottle, you could do that. But anything that has an open container, do not use it in the back seat. I want to show you the in and out of this car, because as I said, it is very short. Now, it does have one-touch door handles all around the driver's side, passenger side, along with that trunk button. And they're a little funky. Sometimes they don't want to work right away. It's not a big issue. Sometimes I've had to hit it a couple times. They seem to be doing very well today, and much, much better than that terrible Dodge Hornet I drove a few months back. So let's get inside. As I said, it feels really, really low. Oh. Once inside, it's very nice though, but the in and out point, I think I'm too old for this and would probably be a deal breaker for me. So maybe if you're going to drive it and you're on the taller side, get in and out of the car. Just do it like 5 times in a row. The dealer's going to think you're weird, but it's definitely worth a try to see if this car is a good fit for you. But honestly, the best place to be in this car is either in the front passenger or the driver's seat. These seats don't look like anything special. They're kind of cool on the top. I like the design. They're really comfortable. I mean, everybody's going to be different, but for me, I found that these seats were surprisingly comfortable. They are very firm and have big side bolsterings. So if you're on the wider side, it might not be the best fit for you. But for someone like me, I really enjoyed the comfort in this car. So going around here, kind of the same materials as the back seat, very hard plastic, but I wouldn't expect anything else in this class. You have some soft touch here, along with your standard mirror, locks, windows, all that kind of stuff. The sound system here, nothing fancy, but it sounds pretty good. I would play you some music, but YouTube would get mad at me, so I won't do that. But just take my word that it's pretty good for an entry-level stereo. You got some dimmer switches here, your parking brake, which took me a long time to find. I thought it would have been in the center. Just an auto hold there, but the parking brake is actually over here, and it is electronic. The old Forte just had the old crank one. You got your hood latch, gas cap, and another trunk option here, along with that button I showed you on the outside of the car. And another one of those weird bottle holders that are at an angle, basically useless, but thankfully you have some interesting cup holders in the center. I got them open, and I can't really figure them out if they're good or not. So if you don't want them, you can get this larger space. Maybe that's if you're drinking those like giant coffee mugs, but otherwise just do that. And I don't know, it's not a great design, but it works. The steering wheel I thought was weird. Let me turn this on quick so I can straighten it out. It's like a funky oval shape, and I was like, this is a weird little gimmick, but it's actually kind of nice. It's pretty comfortable on your hands. This is the base one with just the plastic. If you get the higher line, like the GT line trim, you're going to spend about $5,000, but you will get a leather-like wrap on it. This is perfectly fine for an entry-level car, but it would kind of get a little gross, I think, if it's super hot out. Buttons on the wheel, you got all your driving aids here. The Hyundai Kia system is still terrible. I've said it a million times. I'm not going to get into it. But it drives you all over the lane. It does keep you in the lane, but it'll swerve left to right all over the place. And the radar cruise control isn't great. Now, I usually just drive in the city, so I don't really use any of that stuff anyways. And I definitely shut off the lane keep assist in all Kia and Hyundais because they just haven't figured it out yet. A lot of other brands have a lot better systems. Drive mode, this just has a sport and a fuel efficient mode. And it is a CVT transmission, as most cars in this class are. So it's all synthetic gearing anyway. So basically your sport mode is not anything different. Auto headlamps, like I said, they are all LEDs now. And the center stack, I'll turn it back on. which is used across the entire Kia line now. And I actually like it. It's got like 80s vibes. I feel like the steering wheel kind of gives me like late 80s, early 90s GM when they were trying all that funky stuff. Reminds me of that. And then the center stack is pretty much the same across the entire Kia line now, which is good. I think it keeps costs down and it allows them to put this higher tech stuff in their cheaper cars because they can just buy all this stuff in bulk. And then you got your center screen here with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all the good stuff you want. And it works really good. You can get wireless or wired in. Right now it's not working because I have my Bluetooth shut off, but trust me, it does work pretty well. The menus inside here are kind of funky. There's this weird welcome sound that you're going to want to shut off. Let me cut to a video of that really quick. So you're going to want to shut that off. Just trust me. I think it was in the setup menu and then like sounds. And there's something called a welcome noise. It's in here somewhere, but if someone knows, you should definitely put it in the comments below because that will drive you insane. All kinds of other stuff you want to do in here. Really, for a $23,000 car, you get all this extra cool stuff. You can customize it to look how you want it. And I'm really impressed with Kia's new system here. Down below, the old Forte had the dials, which I like. This is still analog, but it's, I don't know, it's not great. You got your fan speeds here. So obviously it goes, 1 to 8. And then you have all your, defrost and what zone it's in, AC, recirculate. And then the temp thing's a little funky. There's 4 colds and 4 hots. So obviously the more blue you have, the colder it is, and the more red you have, the hotter it is. There's no real actual idea of how cold it is. Just the old school dial would have been fine. I don't know why they needed to mess with that. Down below, everything is USB-C in this car, as it should be in 2025. You have your regular one here, which you can use with the phone and charge it at the same time. That's what this means. But if you just want to charge it faster with more amps, you can click that little button and charge it that way. It's a nice feature that I've noticed in the newer Kias. And then a separate one for your passenger here if they just want to charge their phone. And you still have the old school 12 volts here, which very few people use anymore, but every car still seems to have. This is worth noting, that little storage area in the front is very hard plastic. I wish they would have rubberized it because anything you put in here is gonna fly all over the place. Watch this. As I said, auto hold here, and then you can access your parking camera at any time, which is nice. And this also has that feature where if you're backing up and going forward in a tight space, the Kia will leave the camera on for a while, even if you're going forward. I think that's a nice feature just to kind of keep an eye on your surroundings. Now, this doesn't have anything crazy like a 360 camera or anything, but you can see straight down, straight back as a normal, or like an even extra wide one without the car in it. I just like the standard classic ones. You can still get an idea of where the car is. It works totally fine. It's pretty clear. It's nothing super high tech, but it is a very nice system, and there are no backup sensors on this car. It is just a camera. A little bit of storage here. As you'll see, I got sunglasses in there because, frustratingly, there's no sunglass holder up above. I don't know why they don't put this on every single car, but you have a Kia's emergency connect system. These lights are a little funky. You just brush your hand on it. It's actually not an actual button. It's just a sensor. It will turn off and on there. So I've noticed when I was fumbling for the garage door opener, I had it right here. I would just brush against it and the light would turn on at night. It's kind of annoying. I wish they would just have it be an actual button, but it is what it is. Visors are pretty standard here. No extenders on these, notably, but they do a good job of covering up most of the window. And this car's so low, I don't think you're really going to have sun issues. One more thing. The glove box is pretty big. Okay, we're going to take the K4 out for a little test drive around the block. Now, as I said, this car is low, and I've scraped it a couple times, so just be mindful of that if you're used to riding an SUV. I actually didn't scrape there. but I have done it a couple times. Even on the underside, I have a steep garage inset, so that's something to kind of look out for. Now, this is a pretty rough road here. You do hear a little bit of road noise, but it's surprisingly smooth. It accepts all the bumps, and while you can hear the road, you really can't feel it too bad. I've hit some pretty big potholes, and it does stay very comfortable. I think these nice seats that hold you in place are a little bit due to that, but also this is a very nice riding car. Now, the K4 does come with a higher engine option, but you're going to pay for it. You got to go all the way to the GT line turbo, and technically it's a smaller engine, but they just added a turbocharger to it. It's a 1.6 liter, and it gives you 190 horsepower, which even still isn't that fast. I think the 0 to 60 on that is 7.1. So you knock off a second and a half, and you still don't have a race car, and you spent a lot more money for essentially the same car that's probably less reliable. This is a naturally aspirated engine in this model, and I would trust that a lot more on a smaller engine that's strained by an additional turbo. So I think this is the move here if you're going for the K4, is just to get the standard 2-liter engine. Now, we're climbing a hill here. You can really start to hear the engine work a little bit. I'm going to pop it into sport mode to see if it gets even louder. That's about as loud as this car gets. It's not going to pin you back in your seat, but it's enjoyable enough, and it gives you just enough passing power to feel like you're not going to get into trouble. So this car and most new Hyundais and Kias have this one safety feature I do like. Now, most of their safety features I'm really not into, but this one I like. When you're sitting at a red light and maybe you're not paying attention, like everyone that's on their phone, and the car in front of you pulls away, the system actually alerts you that the car is pulling away. It gives you a little chime and a notification on the dashboard, which we should see come into effect here. And there it is. The car in front of me started moving. I didn't go right away, and the car was like, come on, let's get a move on. Now, not only is that a great feature for you as the driver, but I think also a great feature for everyone else on the road to pay attention, which we could definitely use more of here in the United States. So while you're going to hear some road noise from the car and obviously that engine noise, one thing you don't hear is wind noise. This car cabin is very well sealed. I also noted that on the Forte. In fact, Kia has really stepped up their build quality. All the panel gapping around this car is very good. I've driven Hyundais and Kias in the past, and some of them were just inexcusable. You could put your entire hand in between panel gaps. Well, they've really tightened things up lately, and they've streamlined their entire lineup. Honestly, if you're not paying attention to Kia and Hyundai and what they're doing these days, it's pretty incredible, especially considering the value, because compared to all their competitors, Kia or Hyundai is usually like $2,000 to $3,000 less in every segment across the board. They're delivering incredible value, and their margins have to be razor thin. And I think they're betting on themselves to really put quality products out there. And maybe over time they will raise prices, because there's still a lot of Americans out there, I think, that distrust these companies. But that was in the past. I think these new Kias and Hyundais are fantastic cars, assuming you're not going to keep it past 100,000 miles, because beyond that, I'm not really so sure how reliable it's going to be. But for the average American that just has a car for 3-4 years and then moves on, I don't foresee you having any problems from this car in that time frame. I think my only real gripe with this car is just getting in and out of it. Otherwise, Kia has absolutely knocked it out of the park. The new K4 is kind of the final car in the lineup that does their signature new Darth Vader-y looking design vibes, but I like it. Kia is taking chances, and they're loading their cars up with a lot of tech on the cheap. There's really nothing wrong with that, and America agrees. Kia and Hyundai are the new sales leaders. I think they're even topping Toyota and Honda, which is crazy. While Toyota and Honda have really backed out on the features in their base models, Kia's doubled down and loaded them up. So if you're looking at the K4, I think maybe spec it out like this. There might be a couple things I'd like heated seats or a moonroof, but other than that, you don't need to spend more than $25,000 on this car, and stick with that base engine, because the turbo really isn't that much faster and it's not worth it. You're gonna spend like $28,000 to $30,000. Don't do that. Stick your budget to like $25,000, and I think you're gonna be very happy with your purchase, and backed by Kia's long powertrain warranty. Hopefully that CVT will not give you any issues, but if it does before 100,000 miles, you're covered. So I really think this is a good bet if you're looking for a small but big inside car. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have a K4 yourself, I want to hear about your experiences. Please let me know down in the comments below. I look forward to hopefully a good experience. I will see you on the next video.